Did you know that you can stream the best of HBO shows and more with the new Astro? Better than before, no rain interruptions, no repeats, just stream anytime and on demand via the Astro Ultra Box. It starts from only RM59.90 a month, and you can find out more information at astro.com.my. You're listening to the Goggler Podcast with me, Uma, and joining me on the show today is Will Smith. No, not that Will Smith, the other Will Smith. He is the showrunner, executive producer, and writer of Apple TV Plus's Slow Horses. This is an absolute pleasure. I have adored your show.
Oh, thank you.
From season one, and we've done a bunch of these junkets, but I've never had the chance to speak to you, so this is great. I have many, many questions. First of all, we don't get this sort of Le Carre style spycraft on television and in movies much, right? Because people tend to lean into the action and the gadgets and all of that stuff. And the old-fashioned nature of what you're doing in Slow Horses is so refreshing. And I was wondering if you could talk to me about the freedom that these short 6-episode seasons afford you when telling these stories.
Well, the great thing for me about doing the 6 episodes is that it really suits the adaptation process in terms of the material you get from the book. I mean, the book gives us about 4 episodes. We always have great endings for a couple of eps and a great climax, and then it's sort of filling in the gaps and building out from what Mick set up and thinking, oh, you could go a bit more of that and a bit more of that, and then you've got it. And I think the 6 episodes means you don't drop the pace, you don't drop the tension, and I think it's a challenge, I think, for longer series, especially with thrillers, to that you can end up treading water or kind of going down kind of side routes to kind of fill the episode number and then coming back to the main story. And I think for me, this is the perfect number for telling the story that we have.
I'm curious about that balance you strike between the street level grit and the spectacle that you seem to have in every season. A lot of people don't do it. And they don't do it well.
Again, that's the joy for me, that you get to do dramatic character scenes, really funny scenes, and then you get the action as well. It's like all the things I love. So it's just a big kind of melting pot that you could kind of go anywhere with the show, and you can dial up these various elements and dial them down. I mean, the end, this isn't a spoiler, but I mean, the last run of episodes of this series 3 are kind of probably go bigger action-wise than we've ever gone before. But it still feels like the show. Within those episodes, I think you still have the drama and you still have the humor, and the characters still feel that they're proper characters. They don't feel like genre characters that are just doing some action. You feel like, oh God, these are the people we know and love that are caught up in this action. They feel like themselves.
We're big geeks over here at Goggler, and the moment that sealed the deal for me was the Easter egg with David Cornwell.
Yeah, you spotted it.
At that point, I was like, oh my God, these people know what they're doing. It's fantastic.
Yes. Lamb's fake passport, for those who don't know, is John le Carre's real name.
There is a wry wit to the series, and I absolutely love it. And I imagine that comes from your background doing stand-up and comedy. You don't lean too much into it. It's just right. Is there a tendency with regards to tone to lean either into the dramatic or the comedic? Because I'm assuming it's not the kind of thing studios and financiers often deal with very well, because Slow Horses feels like it's something that's very hard to define.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And there was when we first had the books, there was a nervousness from some people about the tone, and like, oh, can you do comedy and drama and action in the same thing? Will it feel odd, and will it be confusing? And I was never worried about that, because the books work. You think Mick has demonstrated this can work. The books are in the thriller section. They're really funny. People don't think of them as comedy books. They're spy thrillers, but they make you laugh. And I thought, well, we can just do the same thing. And because I'd already done that kind of work with Armando Iannucci, where you're blending kind of comedy and drama, and for me, it's something I learned with Armando, and it's just about something he said to me once, which he cut a line because he was like, I didn't think the character would be trying to be funny at that moment. And I always remembered that. And that's what I apply on Slow Horses. It's just like, Lamb is a funny character. He uses his humor as a weapon. River is funny. The characters are funny, but they're not gratuitously funny. And you think if they're being funny for a reason in the way that people are in real life. and then when they're in danger, they're not going to be funny all the time. It's just about calibrating that, so that whenever they do a funny line, you think, yes, they would be saying that at that moment. It's got to feel dramatically earned, not comedically earned, if you know what I mean. We never wanted to feel like we're going for a laugh. It should always feel organic, and that, as long as we stick to that, we'll be all right, I hope.
And it does, because the comedy feels like it comes from character.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
I don't think it's ever out of place, right? I'm assuming the other thing you got from Iannucci is the tremendous cursing in the show.
Oh yeah, yes, I've had a lot of experience, a lot of practice at writing that, and again, you know, I mean, Jackson's such a great character to write for in that regard. That, you know, the lines that Mick gives him are fantastic, and you could just add surrounding lines to that, and Gary delivers them just so brilliantly, because he's obviously one of the most talented actors of his generation, but he's a brilliant comedian.
A philosophical question, if you will, but I don't think I would like to know someone like Jackson Lamb. I know I would never want to work for someone like Jackson Lamb, and yet,
yes,
I want to be Jackson Lamb.
Yes. Yes.
Why is that, man? Like, have you figured out what makes us love them so much?
I don't know. I mean, I should point out, it's Mick Herron's character. It's similar to the way in which, you know, like, I love Fawlty Towers. There's no way I want to stay in that hotel, or I don't want to know Basil. I love Basil, or Alan Partridge, any of these characters. It's true. He's repulsive, Lamb, and he's mean, but you love him. I mean, the charisma that Gary brings to it, I think, is a huge part of it. I don't know. It's a sort of magic trick that some actors can do. Like, I think Chris Chung, who plays Ho, does a similar thing, in that he's an absolute idiot. He's an absolute tool. He says the most appalling things. You still like him. It's partly because Ho is so clueless. He's not really aware of what he's doing. So you sort of, you know, almost feel sorry for him. A bit like when he asked River, "Tell me why I'm in Slough House," and River can't, because, you know, it will crush him, because Ho is just not in the same world as everyone else. But it fascinates me that how actors who are really lovely people like Chris Chung can turn it on and suddenly be Ho, and you're like, oh my God, you're awful, but you still like them. And the same with Gary, that you're like, this guy's awful, but wow, I love him.
And it's the way these characters are framed, because there are assholes and then there are lovable assholes. Like, I don't particularly want to spend any time with the people in Succession, but it's different with Slow Horses. They're all a little self-centered and egotistical, but there's something about them that still makes them lovable. I've got like a minute left, but very quickly, there's so much that works in the show with regards to production design and the performances. The way London is framed is absolutely incredible. It just sings, but then you top it off with Mick Jagger doing the theme song.
Yes.
And I've been wanting to ask you this for 3 seasons, but was that just a no-brainer? Because for me, it just feels perfect. It fit.
It totally fitted. I mean, it was like, you know, it was, when it came up, I was like, well, we'll never get him. That's a waste of time. But he's London. He also, it tells you the show is good, I hope, because you think Mick Jagger's not going to get involved in the lyrics. This is the reason he ended up doing it, was because he loves the books. So he knew the books. So he had these lyrics that, you know, that tell you what the show is, that set up Slough House, which is always a worry we had when we were doing it, is how do you get across the concept of Slough House? And when you cut from that airport action sequence in episode 1 to Slough House, in between you've got Mick Jagger singing about misfits and losers and boozers, and you go, oh right, okay, now I get it. So you know, it is a wonderful you know, topping cherry on the top to get Mick Jagger. It's just incredible.
Please tell me you're going to keep making these things.
Oh yeah, well, Mick keeps writing them, so yeah, and Gary has said he doesn't want to do anything else. So yeah,
I'll keep replaying them on Apple TV so their data gets skewed. You know.
Yeah, that would be good.
I will do my part, my friend. I will do my part. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations. It's one of the best things on TV. I can't get enough of it.
That's really, really kind of you. I'm so glad to hear that. It was lovely to talk to you.
That was Will Smith, showrunner, executive producer, writer of Apple TV Plus's Slow Horses. Watch it. Let us know what you think. We think it's great. We think it's one of the best things on TV at the moment. Don't forget to reach out with all of your thoughts. Goggler MY, all of our social media feeds. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. If you drop us a line on any one of those channels, we'll send you a link to join our brand new Discord server where you can chat with us in real time. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.